Hari Om. These middle 6 chapters of the Gita, they emphasize on the path of Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. And the path of devotion which is laid out in these middle 6 chapters from 7 to 12 basically have 3 different levels. So generally a devotee of the Lord starts by worshipping a particular form of the Lord, or maybe different forms of the Lord. Shiva form, Krishna form, Ganesha form, Devi form, etc. And then from there, what we are made to understand in these middle 6 chapters, that one must broaden our vision of this devotion and understand that the Lord is not only to be worshipped in the temple or at the altar, but this Lord is also in the creation also. So in chapter 10, the Lord tells us that He can be worshipped as the heat of the sun, as the fragrance of the earth, as the brilliant light of the moon, even the wind, the soft wind that caresses us, that also the Lord says is my glory also. So a devotee learns to not only worship God at the temple or at the altar, but is able to worship the Lord anywhere in this creation through all His various glories. Then we come to chapter 11, where we are brought up another higher level of worship, which is to understand that the whole world is nothing but the appearance of the Lord. So the whole world is nothing but the Lord Himself. So the Upanishad also says, how do we look upon the world? The sky is His body. The sun and the moon are His eyes. The earth are His 2 feet. The wind is His very breath. So the whole world is nothing but the appearance of the Lord, and that's why the title of chapter 11 is called Vishwa Rupa Darshanam. Darshanam means to have a vision of the Rupam, the form of the Lord, which appears as Vishwa. Vishwa means the world. The whole world is nothing but the appearance of the Lord. And in order to have this kind of darshanam, the most important thing a devotee needs is purity of the mind. Absolute purity of the mind. This purity of the mind is depicted in chapter 11 as Divya Chakshu. Chakshu means vision, Divya means divine. So Divya Chakshu means divine vision. What is this divine vision? One can have this divine vision where he or she sees the entire world as nothing but the appearance of the Lord, if only the mind is cleaned or cleansed of all the dirt of ego, greed, pride, anger, etc. So Arjuna wishes to have this divine vision of the Lord, this Vishwa Rupa Darshanam, and he requests the Lord to grant him this vision. So the Lord said, I will give you Divya Chakshu, I will bless you with Divya Chakshu, meaning I will remove all the impurities from your mind. With the very same 2 eyes, you will now see the world, but with a different mental attitude. With a pure mind, you will now see the very same world as the appearance of the Lord. So one recalls also how a devotee progresses in the path of devotion. There is a beautiful dialogue between Hanuman and Lord Rama. And Lord Rama asked Hanuman one day, how do you look upon me? What is your what you call devotion towards me? How do you worship me? So Hanuman gives a beautiful answer. He says, Deha Buddhaya tu daso aham. O Lord, Buddhaya, when I consider myself as this Deha, as this limited gross body, then I look upon you as a dasa, aham dasa, meaning you are the Lord, you are the master, I am your servant. Dasa means servant. So as long as I consider myself to be this limited gross body, I look upon you as the master, as the Lord, and I am your servant. Then the next stage is Jiva Buddhaya Twa Dam Shakaha. When I consider myself as the Jiva, Jiva here means there are millions and millions of Jivas. In every creation there is a Jiva. In every body there is a Jiva. So Jiva is the individual soul. So when I consider myself as the individual soul, then I consider myself as a fragment, as a fraction of you. You are the totality, I am just a simple fragment. Example, there are many waves in the ocean. So I am just like a wave, oh Lord, you are the ocean. I am just a fragment of you. That is how my worship towards you is. And then the higher level is, he says, Atma Buddhaya. When I consider myself as the all-pervading consciousness, as the Atman, as the consciousness, then he says, Tvam eva aham. Then you and I are but one. So then we are but one entity. That is what we call as aham atma asmi, aham Brahma asmi. So that is how a devotee also progresses stage by stage. And Arjuna also is slowly coming out of his state of confusion. When the Lord gives him this Divya Chakshu, first he looks upon the whole world in amazement. He sees all the beautiful things in this creation, and he is completely mesmerized at seeing the very same world with the same two eyes, but with a different understanding. He sees beauty in the world everywhere. Remember, he was on the battlefield, he was in a state of confusion, delusion, sorrow, but now he is feeling a state of amazement, wonder, to realize the beauty of this world. But as we all know, in this world where there is creation, there is also destruction. There is victory, there is also defeat. There is joy, there is also sorrow. So now, having seen all the wondrous things, now his eye falls on another aspect of this creation, where he sees a lot of destruction happening, especially where on this battlefield, and he is unable to take this destruction. So from reverence now becomes fear. He goes through this emotion of fear now at seeing so much of destruction. So in the last week, the verses we saw, verse 21, Arjuna described what he was seeing in this midst of all this destruction going on, that there were one group of devas, he says, hosts of gods, Sura Sangaha. And as they are approaching their death and their destruction, some of them have fear in them. Why do these devas have fear in them? Because you and I can become the deva. We can do a lot of good deeds. We can go up to heaven and become this deva. But once we exhaust our punyam, we have to give up this role of the deva and come back to earth. So some of the devas, having enjoyed so much in heaven, they are unable to accept that their time of destruction has come. They have to return back to earth. So some of them approach you with fear. And what are they doing? They are singing your names and your glories. So some of them are fearful, some of them are not. At the same time, Arjuna sees these great Maharishis and Siddhas. Siddhas are those who have knowledge, and they also have special powers also. I explained to you that some of the powers are, they can make themselves light, they can float in the air, they can make themselves so heavy you can't even lift them. They can transport themselves from one corner of the earth to another corner. So these are all siddhis. A lot of these saints and sages, they keep a lot of austerities. The purpose of keeping the austerities is to gain all these siddhis, so they have all these mystical, magical powers. So Lord says these Maharishis, the great rishis who had the knowledge, and the siddhas who had all these mystical powers, they are also approaching you, but they are not afraid of their death. They have come to accept that death is part and parcel of life. So they have no fear in them. They are approaching you. How? By singing hymns in your praise. So now Arjuna is seeing all the state of destruction. He is seeing the different devas, the Maharishis, the siddhis, how they are approaching their death. And now in verse 22 he carries on now. So the next few verses we will see Arjuna going deeper and deeper in the state of fright and fear at the sight of all this destruction. So now in verse 22 he mentions the name of some of the devas that he is also seeing now. Who are the devas? Now these devas we have already gone through the list of all these devas in chapter 10. They've all been explained and they've all been mentioned in chapter 10. So we will just briefly run through some of the devas that Arjuna is mentioning, who is seeing now. The first group of devas he's seeing are the Rudras. So if you recall from chapter 10, there are 11 Rudras. Who are these Rudras? Briefly, they are the 5 senses of perception, the eyes, ears, etc. The 5 organs of action, the hands, the feet, etc. That is total 10. And 1 is the mind. So 5 plus 5 plus 1, the mind. So these Rudras are said to be those that enliven our senses of perception, senses of action, and our mind. And at the time of death, that's why the Rudram is chanted, right? The Rudram is chanted because at that time these 11 Rudras leave the body becomes lifeless. So that's the purpose of the function of the Rudras. There are said to be 11 Rudras. And these are the devas that Arjuna is mentioning also, because they also have got to come to their end also. They also have got to be replaced by a new group of people who will take over the position of the Rudras also. The next group of devas he mentions are the Adityas. There are 12 Adityas. Each Aditya represents the sun in the different months of the year. So for January there's a different Aditya, February there's a different Aditya, and so forth. So the 12 Adityas represent the sun in the different months of the year. Third group of devas are the Vasavas, the 8 Vasus. The 8 Vasus represent the 8 different directions: north, south, east, west, northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. So those are the 8 directions. So as you all know, the devas are basically, every deva has got a function. Everything in this whole creation has got a deva. The sun has a deva, moon has a deva, stars have a deva. Everything in this creation, including all our body parts, every part has got one deva assigned to it. So these devas are in charge of the functioning of that particular aspect. So Vasus are the 8 directions. They are in charge of all the 8 directions. Next we have the Marutaha. How many Marutas there are there? 49 Maruts. Why 49? The Maruts are basically a group of wind gods. So there are said to be 49 different types of winds, from hurricane to typhoon to what you call the gentle wind to what else? What all the different types of winds? There are said to be 49 different types of winds. So each wind again has got one Marut assigned to it. So like that there are 49 Maruts. Next group of devas he calls as the Sadhyas. Sadhyas again are a particular class of celestial beings. They are mentioned in Mahabharata, they are mentioned in Vishnu Puran, and they are a group of minor deities. It seems these Sadhyas are the ones who are the embodiments of rituals and the hymns of the Vedas. So when their rituals perform, these Sadhyas are invoked also. Then they are a group of devas again, okay, for rituals and for when Vedic chants are there. Next group of gods is called the Vishve. Vishve also they are mentioned in the Vedas and the Puranas, and there are specific hymns in Rig Veda that glorify these Vishve Devas. Okay. So what are these Vishve Devas? They are the ones who are given the first priority when we worship our ancestors. Before we worship the ancestors, we have to worship these Vishve Devas. They are a group of devas again. Okay. Next group of devas is Ashwinaus. Ashwinaus there are two, and they are sons of Surya Devata. Ashwinaus are generally associated with medicine or health. So these two Ashwins are said to be the physicians of all the devas. Whenever the devas have got medical problems, they go and see the Ashwins. They are responsible for all the medical care of all the devas. Ushmapa, the last one mentioned here is Ushmapa. Ushmapa means the mains or those ancestors who have passed away. There are said to be 7 groups of different Pitra Devatas. Those who have passed away, there are 7 groups of devas who take care of all those ancestors who have passed away. So during that time of the year when we offer, we do the Shraddha ceremony, right? We offer things to our ancestors. These are the group of devatas, Ushmapa, who are propitiated. Okay. So all this Arjuna has heard of before, he has worshipped all these devas before, and now he's seeing all these devas. Even they are looking at all this destruction going on. And what is their reaction? He's going to explain in verse 22. So he says, O Lord, all of these devas, along with Sangha, the host or group of Gandharvas. Now Gandharvas again are another interesting group of devas. They are the celestial musicians. They are the ones who entertain all the devas in heaven, Gandharvas. They were also mentioned in chapter 10 verse 26 also. Okay. Another group of devas is mentioning here is Yakshas, who are spirits of nature. They reside in trees and plants, etc. They were also mentioned in chapter 10 verse 23. And then finally he mentions Asuras, who are the demons, Siddhas, who are the perfected ones. Now all these devas is mentioned, all the different groups. What does he say? They are all looking at the destruction. Arjuna says, just as I am looking at all this destruction going on, all these devas also are looking at all the destruction. And what is their emotion? He says, Sarva eva, all of them, without exception, Vishmitaha, they are struck with wonder. They are unable to fathom this mass destruction going on everywhere. Because where is destruction going on? Not only in the earth, but even in the Swarga Lokas destruction is going on. In the Naraka Lokas destruction is going on. Everywhere destruction is going on. So this Vishwarupa is not only the good things, we also see the destructive things also happening. But we all understand that destruction is part and parcel of this whole cycle of creation. There is creation, there is maintenance, and then there is dissolution. Can we exist without dissolution? Can we exist without dissolution? What happens is the world population keeps on growing and growing and growing, nobody dies. Can you imagine the amount of world population there will be? And when we talk about dissolution, we not only talk about death, but we also talk about the destruction of negative qualities. So destruction doesn't mean only physical death, it also means destruction of our negative qualities. So there is a purpose for destruction. There is a what we call a positive side of destruction also. Destruction of adharma happens so that dharma can flourish. Destruction of negative quality happens so that good qualities can flourish. So destruction must not only be seen in a negative light, there is a positive reason also for destruction. So he sees all these devas, they are seeing all this destruction. So some of them are scared, they can't handle it, but some they are able to accept that destruction is part and parcel of this whole world cycle. So now in the next verse he carries on, and more he sees this destruction, Arjuna's mind becomes more and more disturbed. So in the verse 23 now, he addresses Lord Krishna as Mahabaho. Maha means great, Baho means what we call mighty armed. So mighty armed here means symbolically it represents that Lord, your arms are everywhere around, your power is everywhere around. In order for you to take care of all this destruction that is going on in all the 14 lokas, you have to be the most powerful person. Because we as humans can only destroy this earth. We cannot destroy things in heaven, we cannot destroy things in hell. But Lord is the only one who can bring about this total destruction. And not only total destruction, he is also responsible for Mahapralaya. What is Mahapralaya? Mahapralaya is at the end of that kalpa, that cycle, this entire creation goes from manifest into unmanifest. Everything goes into unmanifest. So in order to carry out this Mahapralaya, the Lord has got to be Mahabaho, the most powerful, the most mighty armed person in this world. So Arjuna says, O Lord, Mahabaho, Drishtva, seeing. What am I seeing now? Rupam. I am seeing your form. What type of form am I seeing? Your very destructive nature. Earlier I saw you with the beautiful, all these garlands and all the wonderful things. I was so mesmerized. But now the form I am seeing of yours, Drishtva Rupam, Drishtva Te Rupam, your form which I am seeing now, Loka, all the beings in this world are pravyatita, they are extremely distressed. They are unable to handle, they are unable to comprehend the amount of destruction that is going on everywhere. And not only the whole world, but Arjuna says, O Lord, Tatha Aham, also I am also distressed. I also cannot take this looking at all this destruction going on. See, we only, when we see a little bit of death or destruction, we get affected. Can you imagine Arjuna's condition? He is able to see destruction going on through all the 14 lokas. He is able to see destruction in the past and in the future also. The whole destruction he can see going on. So you can imagine his state of mind. So even though Arjuna asked for Divya Drishti, I think now he must be regretting, why did I ask for this kind of vision where I see so much of destruction going on. So it's not very easy and is very badly affected. Okay. So one more lesson we learn from here also, very important lesson, that no matter how mighty, no matter how powerful, no matter how much money, power, fame, position we have, one day all this is going to go also. So you can be the most strongest person in the world, the most powerful person in the world, the most richest person in the world, but when time comes for destruction, everything is just taken away in the split of a second. That's why there's a beautiful bhajan the other day I was hearing. It's very old bhajan. And the first 1-2 lines are so beautiful. The singer sings, Data ek Ram, Bhikhari sari duniya. Data, the giver, is only one. Ek Ram. Whether you call him Ram or Krishna or Shiva, the giver, the Data, is only one. The one giver is giving us everything, giving us whatever we ask, we pray for, he gives us. So what are we? He says, Sari Dunya, the whole world is Bhikhari. Bhikhari means we are all beggars. We are just receiving and receiving. And when we receive, what do we do? What do we do? So much we receive, what do we do? Huh? We ask for some more. We ask for more. There is no end to what we can ask for. So prayer should be what? What should be prayer? Gratitude, exactly. And what is the best form of prayer you can do in this world? What is the best form of offering you can give to the Lord? Huh? Exactly. Help other people. Make other people smile. Help other people in whatever way you can. Because Krishna has told us in chapter 3, he says, the one who cooks and eats for himself is verily a thief. He is the greatest sinner in the world. The one who receives and doesn't share with others is the greatest thief in the world. There can be no bigger thief than them. So that attitude of gratitude has to be there. So Data ekram bhikhari sari dunya. The whole world is only begging and taking and taking. We got nothing to give back. So at least have that gratitude and help others who are less fortunate also. So as Arjuna is seeing all this destruction, he is getting more and more into a state of fear, into a state of fright. So what does he say here in verse 23? He says, O Lord, all of us are in the state of shock, in a state of awe, because we are seeing your form, which is Mahat. So the word Mahat here means that which cannot be measured. It is immeasurable. Now again, when the word Mahat is used here, it means that your destruction is going on in every corner of the world. We cannot measure where there is, wherever there is existence, there is destruction going on. In all the lokas, in the past, in the future. So your form is Mahat. It is immeasurable as the destruction is going on everywhere. And now he describes a Lord. What type of Lord? Who has Bahu. Bahu means many, numerous. What does the Lord have? Vaktra, mouths. O Lord, I see you with many mouths. Now here we have to be very careful. There's a lot of allegory here. It does not mean God has appeared there with many mouths. So we'll understand what does this allegory mean. O Lord, I see you with Bahu Vaktra, with many multiple mouths. Bahu Netra, with many eyes. Bahu Uru. Uru means thighs. I see you with many thighs. Bahu Pada, with many feet also I'll see you. Bahu Udara, with many bellies or stomachs. Okay? Now, what does this mean? Is Arjuna seeing a Lord appearing with many mouths, eyes, stomachs, thighs, etc.? What does it mean? He says uncountable. I see you with uncountable eyes, uncountable mouths. What is this allegorical meaning mean? See, we must be very careful. We must understand what is the allegorical meaning behind this. What quality of the Lord does this represent? Many mouths, many eyes, many stomachs. Sorry? What part of Lord does this represent? What does this tell us about the one of the qualities of the Lord? He is everywhere. He is omnipresent. He is everywhere. So wherever there are mouths, wherever there are eyes, wherever there are thighs, the Lord is present there. So it's not the Lord appearing with all these different body parts. He says, wherever I look, I see your presence there. That means you are omnipresent, right? Either you are creating or you are destroying in every part of the world. But the most frightful thing that Arjuna cannot get his mind away from, and his time and time again his attention comes back to the mouth, and now he describes what is the frightening thing about the mouth. He says, "O Lord, your mouth is Karala." Karala means very fearful. I see your mouth, many, many mouths, and they are very fearful. Why? What is frightening part about your mouth? Bahu Danstra, the many, many teeth. And what about these teeth? We are going to see in the next few verses why these teeth appear so frightening to Arjuna, because they are the ones which are doing all the destruction. They are the ones that are killing everybody on the battlefield. So the mouth represents the Lord of Death. It is just a allegorical representation of the death that is taking place everywhere. So there's a beautiful hymn, you can go into YouTube and key in. It's called the Purusha Suktam. It's a very beautiful hymn from Rig Veda, which contains 16 verses, and it is a hymn dedicated to Purusha, meaning the cosmic being. And this verse starts off with saying, in Sanskrit it says, of course in English translation is, the Purusha has 1,000 heads, 1,000 eyes, 1,000 feet, and has enveloped the world from all sides. So meaning this cosmic being is all pervading. 1,000 heads, millions of heads, wherever there are heads, the Purusha is there. Wherever there are eyes, Purusha is there. So even in chapter 13 there's a similar verse also, when Arjuna also describes also this cosmic form. Purusha Suktam is a very beautiful hymn. Okay, so exactly what vision now Arjuna is having. So there are two types of vision we must understand. One vision is called the Laukika vision, Laukika. Laukika. Laukika means worldly vision, and the other one is called what we call divine vision or Divya Chakshu. Now what is the difference between these two? Right now, which type of vision are you having? Worldly vision, right? Laukika vision, right? So what is the difference with that and divine vision? With the ordinary vision, okay, with Laukika vision, when Arjuna is looking at the battlefield, he sees soldiers holding weapons. These weapons are eventually going to cause destruction on the battlefield. That is when we look with the worldly eye, Laukika vision. But with divine vision, now that Arjuna has got divine vision, he is looking at the same soldiers as what? As the Lord and the instrument, the Lord as an instrument of destruction. You are not seeing soldiers anymore. You are now seeing the Lord who is the instrument of destruction, which we will see in the later verses, how Lord says that I am the one who is destroying everything in this battlefield now. So again, with Laukika vision, with worldly vision, when Arjuna looks at all the soldiers, he sees different hands, faces of each soldier. But with divine vision, he sees that every face is nothing but the face of the Lord, every hand is nothing but the hand of the Lord. So when we have divine vision, the world doesn't change, but our understanding of the world changes. Because of the impurities in the mind, we now cannot see the world in a different light. But when we remove the impurities, we will see the world in a different way. So now with Laukika vision, you look at people, what do? You divide the population into who you like and who you don't like, right? But if you have divine vision, you will only look at everyone as the same. So that's why sometimes people say uh, we don't want to go to temple. Why go to temple? You only say God is everywhere, isn't it? Amma, Appa, you say God is everywhere. Why go to temple? Why pray? If you say God is everywhere, then why go to temple? Why pray? So first thing we must understand, to such people, what they are saying that God is everywhere, the statement is correct. There is nothing wrong with the statement. But to these people, we just ask one simple question. Do you have friends? They say, yes, we have friends. Are there friends that you like? You want to spend a lot of time with them? Yes, we have friends that we like to spend a lot of time with. Do you have friends that you hate? Yes, I have friends that I hate. I don't like them. I don't want to see them. Then if you say God is everywhere, why do you don't see God in them? Do you have relatives that you like? Yes. Do you have relatives that you dislike? Yes, I hate some relatives. I don't want to see them. Then you say God is everywhere. Why don't you see relatives in the? Why don't you see God in the relatives you hate? So you say that God is everywhere, but are you able to see that God is everywhere? That is the difference. So now the question comes, okay, if you want to see God everywhere, there is a reason for us to go to temple. The reason for us to go to temple is first to attach our mind to the Lord. The reason for us to pray, the reason for us to pray at the altar, to go to temple is first to cleanse our mind. Once we've cleansed our mind, then I can see the whole creation as one. Then I can see God in everyone. Then it does not become a statement. It becomes a reality. Then and only then you stop going to temple, then it makes sense. But you just say God is everywhere, I don't go to temple. But at the same time, you divide human beings into likes and dislikes. You divide people into likes and dislikes, then where is your statement that God is everywhere? So we have to understand that that is the divya chakshu. That is what we all have to work towards, removing these impurities from our mind. And prayer, going to temples, praying at the altar, therefore is very important. So now we go on to the next verse 24. Arjuna is still expressing his sense of fright and shock also. So here Arjuna now addresses, previous verse he addressed the Lord as Mahabaho. Now he addresses the Lord as Vishnu. So very interesting now. Here is addressing the Lord as Vishnu. The root word of Vishnu is Vish, V-I-S, Vish, which means to enter or to pervade. Okay, that's why we call Vishnu as the all-pervading one. That is the meaning of Vishnu. Okay. Now, when we say all-pervading one, what we mean is one who is not limited by time and space, who goes beyond time and space. That is Vishnu, who is not restricted by any boundaries. That means he is in the creation, he is in everyone. At the same time, he is outside also of this creation also. He is within and without this creation. So that is Vishnu. Okay. So now Vishnu here has got two meanings. One is the all-pervading one, the unmanifested all-pervading one. The second meaning of Vishnu is the one who has the Lord Vishnu form. So what is this Lord Vishnu form? Normally it is described as one who is blue in complexion. He has 4 arms. What are the arms carrying? One arm carries the lotus. Another arm carries the conch, the Panchajanaya conch. Another arm carries the mace. And finally, the next arm carries the discus, which is the Sudarshan Chakra. So now actually Arjuna is seeing both the form and the formless. He is understanding that Vishnu is not only the form, but he is also the all-pervading consciousness also. So he addresses Lord as Vishnu. He says, "Oh Lord Vishnu, you are all-pervading, you are destroying everything everywhere, and as a result, Antaratma. Antaratma means the inner Atma. Antaratma. What is the Antaratma? Antaratma here refers to the mind. So Arjuna says, O Lord, O Vishnu, my mind, seeing all this destruction left and right everywhere I see, my mind is pravyatitam, it is extremely distressed. Pravyatitam, it is extremely distressed. I cannot take this amount of destruction going on. Okay, so he's paying his salutations to both the form and the formless also. Okay, so sometimes to explain this formless is very interesting dialogue in the Chandogya Upanishad. In this Chandogya Upanishad, the student approaches the master to try to understand how to realize the formless, how to recognize this formless. So in this case of the Chandogya Upanishad, a very beautiful episode, the teacher is Udalaka. His name of the guru is Udalaka. And the student is no other than his own son, Swataketu, who comes and asks his father this question about the formless. So in order to teach them, they use a very practical example. What is the practical example? The teacher asks the student, bring a glass of water with salt in it. Okay. Then he asks the student, what do you see? So the salt is in the water, it is mixed. So he asks the student, now what do you see? The student says, water. He doesn't see the salt anymore, he just sees water. Although the salt is in the water. So now the teacher asks, what type of water do you see? The student says, water that is pervaded by salt. I know there's salt inside, but I don't see the salt. So now the next question is, where is the salt? Is it on top of the water? Is it below the water? Is it midway in the water? No. The student says it is everywhere. Salt is pervading in all directions. In entire part of the water there is salt. Okay, next question. Do you see the salt? Say, no, I don't see the salt. So how can you recognize then the salt? You know there is salt, you can't see it, but you understand there is salt. So how do you do it? He says, the guru says, you take a drop of the water, you put it in your mouth. So what do you taste? Salt, right? Now what does this tell us now? This whole example, very nice story, but what's the meaning? You put the salt in the water, you can't see it, but you know there is salt. When you take a drop of that water and you put in your mouth, you can taste the salt. So what is the lesson here? With one instrument, you cannot recognize the salt, but with another instrument, you can recognize the salt. So it means that with my eyes, I cannot taste the salt, but with my mouth, I can taste the salt. In the same way, the unmanifest cannot be recognized by your five senses, because unmanifest means no form, no size, no color, no shape, no sound, nothing. So your five senses cannot recognize. Therefore, how will you come? What do you need that instrument to recognize that unmanifest? All your five senses won't work to realize this unmanifest. But one thing only can help you to understand this unmanifest, to recognize what is this unmanifest. What is that? What do you need? Huh? What you're receiving right now? Knowledge. So that is the instrument to know the self, and then only you can experience the self. So we have to understand this. The unmanifest Brahman is beyond our five senses. Our five senses can never experience this unmanifest. By knowledge we can come to know, and then only we will come to experience. After knowing, we must be convinced that there is this consciousness, this Brahman, then only we can experience it. So that is the difference between science and religion. Science says what? You do the experiment, you show me the result, I see the result, then I believe, right? But what does religion say? You believe first, then you do the experiment, then you will come to find the answer. So first you must have Shraddha, you must have faith, you must have belief. That is very important. Then only you go on the journey to discover the self. So now Arjuna is expressing to the Lord that he's going through these emotions of fright, okay, and what is going through him now, physically now, what is happening to him also, okay. He says, by seeing all this destruction, he says, I do not find any rhythm, any steadiness. My hands are shaking, my limbs are feeling weak. Now, earlier also Arjuna went through all this trembling and hand shaking and hair standing. When was that? Huh? Chapter 1, right? When he faced all his, saw all his relatives and gurus, and he realized that he had to kill them, he couldn't stand suddenly. He told Krishna, my whole body is trembling, my whole body is burning, my hair is standing, I'm going to collapse anytime now. Now also is going through the same kind of emotions also, that fear, that fright also. And he says, therefore, Lord, there is no cha na samam, there is no calmness in my mind. My mind is in a total state of fear and torment also. Okay. So now, where is he seeing all his destruction? He says, I am totally frightened, I am totally tormented by seeing this destruction, seeing your form. Nabha sprasham. It is, sprasham means touching the nabaha, the sky. So vast is this destruction going on that even up to the sky where your form is, everywhere there is, I can see destruction going on. I see your form going all the way to the sky. Aneka varnam, I see with all kinds of brilliant colors, and what kind of fire that is burning from your mouth. He calls it diptam, blazing fire. Okay. And again his eyes keep on looking at the mouth of Lord, which means the destruction going on. And this mouth, he sees very fiery mouth. It is vyatha nanam, it is open mouthed, and it is filled with all kinds of fire. Can you imagine Lord's eyes, netram, they are also burning with fire. He is totally in a mode of destruction now. Very frightening to look at. Okay. So now he goes on to describe again this state of destruction. Okay. And as I said, that there is creation, there is dissolution, there is destruction. And now Arjuna describes in verse number 25, okay, seeing again the mouth. His attention keeps coming back to the mouth. Drishtva eva, having seen te mukhani. Mukhani here is in plural, meaning all the multiple varieties of mouths there, which are reaching all over the universe. Everywhere there is destruction going on. And again he comes back time and time again to this Karala Danstra. Karala, frightening Danstra, frightening teeth. He keeps coming back to these teeth. So what are these teeth? What do these teeth represent? Again, these are all allegorical. It's not that he's seeing teeth, he's just seeing destruction going on in this battlefield. What do these teeth represent? Samni Bani, they resemble Anala Kala. Kala means dissolution. So Kala has got two meanings. One, it means time, and the other, it means dissolution or destruction. And what is this destruction? It is called Anala Kala. Anala is another name for fire. Fire of destruction. It is burning everywhere. It is burning everyone. Mass destruction is happening here. So it's called a Pralaya Kala Agni. Pralaya means at the end, this Agni, the fire, destroys everything. It doesn't leave anything at all. It destroys everything. So if we look at the creation, how does creation happen? When creation starts, what is the very first element? Space or ether, right? Then from ether comes what? When creation comes from subtle to gross, so it comes down from the Lord, it is space or ether, that becomes air, Then ether and air takes on the form of fire. From there, the three elements take on the form of water, and then finally it becomes earth, right? The most grossest. So subtle is space and the most grossest is earth. So that's how creation comes. Now when dissolution happens, it goes backwards. So earth folds back into water. Then water folds back into fire. Fire folds back into air, and air finally folds back into space. So everything is gone. So as the creation comes from subtle to gross, when it goes into dissolution, it goes backwards from gross to subtle. And the thing that destroys everything is basically fire. Once it reaches the state of fire, everything gets destroyed, everything becomes air, and from air it becomes space. So now that is what he's seeing, everything getting destroyed backwards from gross back to subtle. And again Arjuna says, seeing all this destruction, Na jane, I do not know, I have lost all my sense of dishaha. Dishaha means direction. I don't know where is north, where is south, where is east, where is west. Why? Why have I lost my sense of direction? I do not know where is north, where is south, where is east, where is west. Why has he lost his sense of direction? Because wherever he looks is his destruction. So to him there is no north, south, east, west. Everywhere looks the same because everywhere he's seeing destruction. Remember, on the battlefield, how many millions of soldiers have lost their lives? In that 18-day battle, every day there are hundreds and thousands of people losing their lives. So there is massive destruction going around. So not only have I lost my sense of direction, na labhe sarma, I do not find any joy. Earlier I saw your Vishwarupam, I had so much of joy, so much of happiness in seeing all the glorious things in creation. Now I don't have any more joy. And why some more? Because Arjuna is seeing the destruction of his beloved relatives, his beloved friends, his revered gurus. He's seeing all of them being destroyed. Now remember, the war has not started. Has the war started or not? The war has not started. Then when did this Bhagavad Gita start actually? How did the narration of the Bhagavad Gita start? See, this narration, actually what happened is the war had started until it came to the 10th day. A very crucial thing happened on the 10th day of the battle. What happened on the 10th day of the battle? Bhishma Pita was shot by arrows by Arjuna and he fell on the ground. He did not die. He just lay on the bed of arrows. So this shocked everybody, shocked the Pandavas, shocked the Kauravas, and Sanjaya, who was on the battlefield, he rushed back to Hastinapura to inform the blind king that this terrible thing has happened, that Bhishma Pita has fallen on the bed of arrows. And that's when the first verse in the Gita starts. When Bhishma Pita, what's the father's name again? The blind king, Dhritarashtra, asks Sanjaya, can you please now tell me what happened from day one? So go back to day one. So what Sanjaya is now telling is before the war started, this is actually what happened. That Arjuna then just collapsed on the battlefield, surrendered to Krishna, and now what is happening is he is not seeing the outcome of the war. But because of this divine vision now, he is able to see all the destruction that he did not want to see. His relatives, his gurus, and all the people whom he loved, he's seeing them all being destroyed. And he just cannot take it. That destruction that is going on also. Okay. So just like, when we read in the press also, we see the tsunamis, typhoons and all these things going on. It is like very shocking sometimes. And reading is one thing. Sometimes now you see on the news channels, they show you live all this going on, the destruction. Is very difficult for us to comprehend all this. Okay. So he carries on now addressing the Lord, Devesha, O Lord, Jagan Nivasha, O abode of the universe, may you be prasida, may you be gracious to me. May you please remove this fear of mine. I am now in a total state of fear and shock and sorrow. So, O Lord, please be gracious to me. Please remove this fear from me. Okay. And not only that, he in a way is also praying to the Lord that when my time comes, please be gentle. Please don't give me a what you call painful death, because he's seeing all this painful death going all around. Okay. So now that brings us to verse number 26. Okay. So all this destruction now that he didn't want to see, but now he's forced to see all this destruction also. Remember when he asked for this Divya Drishti, Lord told him, see everything and that which you desire to see. What you want to see also, you can see also. And Arjuna wanted to see the outcome or the end result of this battle. So now this is what he is seeing now. What is he seeing? Ami, those, Sarve Eva, verily all, Putra, the sons of Dhritarashtra, the blind king. He is seeing all the sons of the blind king going towards their destruction. How many sons were there? 100 sons he had. All the 100 sons, all were, I think only one survived the war, if I'm not mistaken. All the sons of Dhritarashtra, they were going towards their destruction. So he's seeing all this now. And not only all these 100 Kauravas, Saha Eva, together with Sangha, multitudes of Pala Avani, rulers of the earth, meaning all the kings, all the armies who came to support the Kauravas, all of them are going towards their death and destruction. Okay. There were so many kingdoms, they brought their own armies to come and support the Kauravas, some came to support the Pandavas, but all of them are going to be destroyed one by one also. Okay. So the only son of Dhritarashtra who was not killed was Yuyutsu. His name was Yuyutsu. And Yuyutsu was actually born out of a liaison between Dhritarashtra and a maid servant. So he was very separate, he was very different from the other sons. Okay. So this fellow Yuyutsu, who although was Dhritarashtra's son, he went to the Pandava side and he fought for them. He fought against his own family because he realized that what the Kauravas were doing was totally wrong. So he left the Kauravas, he went to the Pandava side to fight. He was totally opposed to Duryodhana. So now this is what Arjuna is seeing. What else does he see? What the thing that he really doesn't want to see, he sees the death of Bhishma Pita. He sees even Bhishma Pita is going to die in this battle also. Okay? Who was the grandsire of both the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And Bhishma Pita loved Arjuna the most. Among all the Kauravas and Pandavas, he loved Arjuna the most. And Arjuna also had the most respect for Bhishma Pita. So he's totally shocked to see that Bhishma Pita also is going to die in this battle. In fact, Arjuna didn't know at that time, but he will be the one shooting the arrows into Bhishma Pita to bring him down. So he's seeing Bhishma Pita dying also. Next, Arjuna also sees his own guru Dronacharya also going to his death also. So that also affected Arjuna very much. Then after all the bad news, now comes some good news. What is the good news? Now here again, as you see, the Sanskrit text and the English text, there's something missing there. Okay. In the Sanskrit text, in the third line, you see the word Suta Putra. Okay, you see that? Suta Putra. Putra means son of a Suta, S-U-T-A, Suta. So, what is a Suta? A Suta is one who is of a mixed lineage. Kshatriya father, Brahmin mother. So, Karna, here Suta Putra refers to actually Karna. Because Karna's mother, Radha, she was a Brahmin. And Karna's father, Nandana, he was a Kshatriya. So he had a Kshatriya father and a Brahmin mother. And no, we're talking about Karna. No, but that was the, what we call that, was his biological mother, but she let him float on the river, and he was adopted by this.
She's a Sudra, not
Who?
the Radhe.
Radhe is a Brahmin. She's a Brahmin. The father was a Kshatriya. So they adopted him. So that's why he was known as Sutaputra. And that's why he always felt hurt, because later he came to find out that he was actually from what do you call that? Higher lineage. So here he was always known as Sutaputra. Okay. So here also is described as Sutaputra, but the word Karna is missing from the English text also. So of course Arjuna is very happy or sad to see Karna being destroyed? Huh? Very happy, because that was his biggest enemy, was Karna. He was very, very upset because Karna did a lot of wrong things also, and supported Duryodhana also. Okay, so on one side he was distressed to see Bhishma Pita, Dronacharya dying, yet he also saw his sworn enemy Karna also dying. Saha, together with all the warriors, each and every warrior, not only of the Kaurava side, but Arjuna says, Yodha Mukhe, the prominent warriors, Ashmadhya of ours also, they are all going towards their death. Each and every one. In fact, Arjuna lost his son also in the battle. Bhima also lost his son in the battle. So all their children also perished in the battle also. So it was quite shocking for him to see all this happening right before his eyes. Okay. So now we will stop here at verse 26, and we will resume back next week, Saturday, with verse number 27. Okay. We end with the prayer. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru.